Hey, Buff Nation, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. Coming up this week on the Buffalo Stampede television show. Hey, Ralphie VI got her career underway in successful fashion on Friday night, as did the CU football team. We'll recap with my broadcast partner, head coach Gary Barnett, and sideline reporter Andy Lindahl. Also, because Ralphie was so great, Taylor Stratton, the program manager for the Ralphie program, will join us as well, talking about our special little girl. And undefeated Jessie Mahoney from volleyball joins us as well. Coming up this week on the Stampede.
Dimitri Stanley's going to take it to the house.
There is why he's one of the best linebackers in America. And there he goes! Touchdown! Right between the eyes from downtown.
Attaboy Lolo.
It's a winner for the Buffs.
Ball is right in front. A couple of shot fakes that she buried.
For the one, backs in the eye. Lewis, hands off. Broussard, end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown, Colorado!
Well, he's the reigning offensive player of the year in the Pac-12 Conference. Jerry Broussard, 94 yards, had a touchdown for the Buffaloes. Colorado 1-0 in the young season, 35-7. They win over Ed McCaffrey and the Bears of Northern Colorado. Welcome to the Buffalo Stampede. Coach Gary Barnett, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. It's a win, but not everyone's walking around with a smile on their face after this one.
Well, these are tough games, Mark.
Yeah.
And first of all, you don't know what to expect. The other team hadn't played in 2 years. The coaches never coached there. And so what do you prepare for? And they prepared all year for a lot of different things. They're all fall camp. And, they got to the game, and guess what? They got a defense that they did not anticipate, and it became a problem, and they had to slug it out. Broussard's touchdown, it was like there was a big relief when we finally scored, because it was hard getting that first touchdown. And, we had young players playing for the first time. I think Brendan Lewis, while he didn't make any bad decisions, Mark, he didn't make some decisions that everybody wanted him to make. Yeah. There were some throws that could have been made that we all saw that he didn't see from his standpoint. But at the same time, he didn't make any bad decisions. He didn't force it. And, he didn't throw an interception. We didn't have a turnover in this game. And in the first game, that's pretty remarkable to do that.
The one thing the Buffaloes did have was 12 penalties for 118 roughly yards or something. That drives the coach crazy. I mean, there are penalties that are penalties. There are a false start every once in a while, those kind of things. But there were those, as you call, selfish penalties, the unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, those kind of things.
Those are the ones that drive you nuts, and those are the ones that you can control. It's just you doing something selfish, something you feel like you want to do. And I know Carl regards himself and his teams as always being very disciplined. And that kind of lack of discipline gets you beat. And it'll get you beat down the road if it continues.
Yeah, the Buffaloes, though, do get the win 35-7. Let's hear from the head coach after the Colorado win over the UNC Bears.
We got a victory. It was good to start the season with a crowd. And I thought the fans were into the game, and I felt our team was inspired about playing in front of people again. We were fortunate enough to make a few more plays than them. We should have played a lot cleaner. I know it's the first game, and some of those things happen. I have to give the Northern Colorado, they had a completely different defensive scheme. We never had a chance to get any information on, and I think that helped them in the first half of the game with really not giving us a lot of really consistent drives. I have to give the offensive coaches and the defensive coaches hats off to them at halftime. We made the right adjustments. We figured out what they were doing, and then we were able to have some successful drives in the second half that gave us a little more continuity and some points on the board. So it was good problem solving that we knew that we were going to have to do at a certain level, not knowing this team. I felt that the coaches and the players responded in the second half pretty well.
There's the head coach after the Buffs win 35-7, knocking off the Bears of Northern Colorado here at Folsom Field. By the way, it was a great debut for Ralphie VI. We're going to talk about that later in the show. She was fantastic in her 2 runs. Buffaloes did run the ball well with 281 yards. Boy, that running back room, we thought it's deep. It is really deep. There's some talent there that Colorado can lean on.
All 5 guys ran the ball well. Yeah. Joe Davis got the fewest. runs, but he picked up 2 first downs at the end of the game when they needed to do that and keep the ball. Deion Smith came in and had a nice series and scored a touchdown, but Broussard, Fontenot, and Assad Clayton, those are 3 guys you can count on, and they're going to just get better. And, we saw a lot of depth in the offensive line today. We played a lot of people up front, a couple transfers, and so that's all good. All of that's really good.
How about the defensive side of the ball? They only give up 7 points, only give up 20 yards rushing. What did you see on the defensive side?
I was really impressed with the secondary and the young guys. That's been my biggest concern about defense going into this year, is whether or not we were going to be deep enough at safety and maybe at the corner to be able to hold up the whole year. But I was impressed with the way they played. They played salty. They played like they had an attitude. I think we had 1 sack. But, we forced 1 turnover, but that was really a bad throw by the quarterback. But, I thought the defense was solid, run defense was solid. They didn't really try to run the ball on us very much, but we were solid all the way across.
Now the Buffaloes dive into the deep end of the pool next week. We'll be at Empower Field a mile high. They've got a top 10 team in Texas A&M. Things get real all of a sudden, don't they?
Things get real, and they get fast, because this team that we're going to play plays fast. And they're extremely talented, especially defensively. And it's going to be a real test, and we can't make the kind of mistakes we made tonight and hang in there with them.
Well, they always make that old comment. It's the old adage, the team gets its best improvement from game 1 to game 2. Buffs are going to need that as they take on the Aggies, the old Big 12 foe. Next week in Denver, that's the coach, Gary Barnett. Coming up next, our sideline reporter, Andy Lindell, will join us here on the Stampede.
From right to left, snap taken by Lewis. He's got men downfield, plenty of time. Now darts to his right, looking at the end zone, rifles it, and a grab is made. Was the foot down? It's a touchdown! Touchdown, Colorado!
I hope that's not the first and only touchdown for that guy, because it's just fun saying, say it with me, Montana Lemonious Craig.
Montana Lemonious Craig.
It's harmonious when you say that name. But that was a heck of a throw by Brendan Lewis as the Buffaloes get the 35-7 victory over the Bears of Northern Colorado. Our sideline reporter Andy Lindell joining us here for a couple of minutes after the Buffs get the victory here tonight. There's a lot to like. There's some things not to be too excited about. Mixed bag coming out of this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think a lot of people saw the point spread, which it's all about betting now, right? And that 38-point spread, you're just thinking, okay, when you don't know what your opponent's going to do. And you know what? I credit Coach. He was a coach for a reason. Gary said they'll probably go back, look a little bit at some of the high school tape. That looked a little bit of what Ed did at Valor. But again, Mark, you don't know, right? You don't know. You brought up a great point how when you're a school like UNC playing the bigger school, you've got your 5 or 6 good players, get them isolated, do the best you can to try to get them one-on-one matchups. Everything was side to side trying to get that matchup up the sideline, right? Yep. So you know what? You got through this. You knocked some rust off. Ohio State didn't exactly stomp on Minnesota last night, as some thought. It's what week 1 in college football is.
And to think about it, you got to remember as well, you do have a veteran quarterback who came in here, didn't panic, made smart decisions, made plays. And so when you got a guy like that leading your offense, that can add to some things that are problematic for the opposition. But still, the Buffaloes didn't come out of this thing without blemishes. The penalty thing is concerning.
It is. I don't want to sound like a homer here, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. I felt like the Pac-12 refs are being a little bit hard on the Pac-12 players, and that being CU. I saw a lot of stuff instigated by both sides. I thought you should have thrown flags on both sides. You didn't, and because of that, UNC kept poking that little extra shove. The last penalty, as I saw it, one of the UNC players dived in for the football to try to get that fumble. CU's player picked him up and simply got him off the pile. It wasn't anything malicious, and then the flag comes out. Well, there's a scrum for the football.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought it was a little bit slanted one way, but CU's got to be more disciplined if that's how they're calling a game.
That has been a topic of conversation, and as Gary said in the previous segment, Carl Durrell looks at himself as being a disciplined guy. His team's going to be that. They weren't necessarily that tonight. Afterward, we heard from a couple of the players, quarterback Brendan Lewis and running back Jarek Broussard.
We've been working really hard, like in camp and stuff, so for us to be able to play with fans now, like finally, is like a gift, really.
Along with him, it's just really good to see everybody out there again, supporting us, you know, getting the students back into it, letting them get the experience of just watching us play, so that felt good too.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty cool experience. You know, playing with fans, the game was full of emotions. And, you know, it was just fun to come see everybody come out and watch us play. And, you know what I'm saying, to get a win was really good.
I feel like it was a decent game for us for our first game. We made some mistakes, but those are fixable. At a high, we all had great effort and great energy the whole time, so I think that was really good for us.
It felt good to get a win, but I felt like I didn't play like I played decent. Definitely could have played better, so I was kind of disappointed in a way. Yeah, it was definitely a different feeling. You know, going to the game knowing I'm gonna be the starter. At least I knew I was gonna play that game, but still, it was definitely a different feeling going in knowing I was gonna be the guy. Every game is really a big game, so we're not gonna try to get too up like all the rah-rah over this game. We're just gonna prepare as need be for this game because we know it's a big game, but we're not gonna try to get too into it to where we're distracted and stuff like that.
There's Brendan Lewis and Jarek Broussard. Broussard had 94 yards and a touchdown for the Colorado Buffaloes. Boy, I tell you what, he wasn't wearing the brace like he was a year ago. There's a difference there. I mean, he's always been shifty, but that guy really is elusive.
No, you're right, and I've noticed it with Cortland Sutton covering the Bronco camp this year. He's not the Cortland Sutton we're used to. There's not fluidity in his movement that you're used to out of Cortland Sutton. I'm sure he'll get there. Man, Jarek Broussard looked incredible tonight. He had the one run where he stopped on a dime, let a couple guys go by, shifted, then mid-run, felt like mid-step, spun out of another tackle. I mean, what he showed tonight has got to get you so excited. The only thing I guess I'd be disappointed by in the run game was I thought the CU offensive line might handle the physicality a little bit more against UNC. Hopefully they get that going better next week, but man, this run game is something. It just, if you're a longtime Buff fan, this run game causes some nostalgia.
Well, there's no doubt about that. With the depth at running back, that line, they played a lot of guys. That line's going to come as time goes on. The receiving corps, we didn't get a chance to see them a lot tonight. But, you know, Brendan Rice, we saw what he did on a kickoff return out there. Dimitri Stanley's explosive. Levante Chenault's explosive. Lamonius Craig, who we saw off the top of this thing. Well, when that quarterback settles down, starts making some decisions, seeing things a little bit better, you know, you're excited about the potential on that offense. So.
Yeah, but you know what I liked about Brendan Lewis tonight? You talked to him right after the game. He came out and he admitted, I didn't play well tonight. I missed some reads. I missed some throws. It's good that he knows that. You don't want a kid to come out here and act like, hey, I had a great game and not too much to fix. He knows he's got to go and grind on the tape. He knows what we need him to do, I think, just listening to coach a little bit. And I'm seeing this again with the Broncos quarterbacks. You got to get rid of that ball a little bit quicker. Yep. You may think you're going, there are a couple times you just held it and there's the window. You know, but again, it's this kid's first chance to be the man, and he's going to get used to the fact that the window is there a lot quicker and closed than it was in high school.
Every time you step up a level, the window closes quickly. It's smaller and it closes quicker, and that's the adjustment all quarterbacks have got to make. That's Andy Lindahl, just solid report on the Colorado Football Network. We're going to continue covering this one and talking about the Buffalo's 35-7 win over the Bears as they get set now for a top 10 team in Texas A&M as we continue here in the Stampede.
And now they open the gate, and here comes Ralphie VI, and she's on her way south across the 15, the 20, the 25. She's coming to the near sideline. Oh, her first run is going to be successful. On her way to the northwest corner, and into the trailer she goes. Oh, what a way to start 2021. Oh, touchdown, Ralphie. Touchdown, Colorado. How about that, man?
Hey, how much fun was that on Friday night, opening up the Buff season opener? Ralphie VI, 15 months old, 500 pounds. She did her job phenomenally. Nobody was happier than that than Taylor Stratton, the program manager for the Ralphie program. You're still smiling.
I'll never stop now at this point. Like, she did so great. So you saw me in the booth pretty quickly afterwards. And boy, I was listening to that radio interview and I was talking so fast because I was just so happy. I'm surprised if anyone understood anything I said.
So lead us up to that day. I mean, did you, coaches sometimes will say, I had a feeling my team was ready or wasn't ready. Did you have a feeling one way or the other whether she was going to do it?
We put a lot of work into this. We've been working with her since we got her last November, so since she was very, very small, and we've progressed through a lot of different stages. I had 110% confidence in all of my handlers that they were going to do the perfect thing. They've got one of the most talented and fantastic teams. And then, with live animals, there's never 100%.
You never know.
You work with them all the time, and and so I was very confident going into it that she was going to be brave, but there's no way to simulate Folsom Field on game day.
Well, and here's the thing about it, and Taylor and I are both involved in the horse world a little bit, and you know about animals. You can practice them and practice them and practice them. You get in there and all the field's painted. That's different. There's fans in the stands. All of those things can affect that animal then.
100%. And so we've been practicing with crowd noise. So she was used to some crowd noise. We had the band come out to a practice. We had our track and cross country team. They followed her out because it's kind of one of our larger teams. So she was used to a bunch of people. Yeah. We practiced with the lines. But you know, the Pac-12 logo, she's watched Miracle enough times and some hockey moves. So she knows you're not supposed to step on the logo. And she goosed around it a little bit, but she's going to be brave, and she did a great job.
So one of the great shots of this was Ralphie running, obviously, but when you got back there, you and your team, you guys were going out of your minds. I mean, it was like all of that work finally paid off.
100%. This is 2 years in the making, and so it's one of those things where I took over the program, and my first day was April 1st, 2020. Okay. You may recall it was in the middle of our 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And it turned into something a little bit different with the global pandemic, and so by the time it was looking like we were able to get even our team back out together to the ranch, the candidate that we had was a little bit too old, and so I didn't feel comfortable that she would be successful as the next Ralphie. She was already much larger than our current Ralphie VI, and so we started all over. We scrapped it and started all over, which is always a challenging thing to do.
I want to talk a little more about that transition, going from Ralphie V to Ralphie VI. It was unbelievably successful on Friday night, and there was a great video campaign that opened this all up a week ago when we found out that Ralphie VI was going to run.
Do you remember the first time you saw her run?
That is Ralphie, the mascot of Buffalo. I don't think Ralphie's got enough help, Jim.
An unforgettable moment.
And Ralphie takes the field for the final time.
Pride and tradition connecting generations as one herd.
Let's turn Ralphie loose, and here come the Buffalo.
And one generation builds upon another. She's always been there. She wrestled a bear and witnessed 2000.
He's on his way.
She saw the pitch
Now he pitches the play
and 62-36.
62 points.
She tasted the oranges
Going to the Orange Bowl.
and brought home the ring. She inspired a miracle and stood strong when we looked for help from above. She's the magic that stirs our souls to greatness, our pride and tradition, connected through one running spirit. So run, Ralphie, run.
Yeah, it certainly was an emotional video. Boy, people got really excited. Late last week when that thing came out, we knew that we were going to have Ralphie VI run before the Buffs opener against Northern Colorado. You know, before we talk about that transition, I don't think there was a dry eye in the place. I mean, we played the video clip when I just spontaneously started calling her run around, and Gary Barnett, my partner, was crying. Tears were pouring down his face, and it was all over the stadium.
It absolutely was. The number of people have come up to me and told me that they burst into tears when they saw the video, when they saw her run, that every time they watched the video that John Snelson did, that they burst into tears. And so it's just such a great reminder. We know how much this program means to people, but I think that after the most tumultuous few years we've had to date in our society, to have this moment that the entire Buffs family can come together and rally around an orphan bison who's growing into a role wonderfully, it's definitely, it's touching.
You know, we talked a little bit about when you first took over the program, you had somebody potentially was going to be the next Ralphie. You didn't feel comfortable with that. This transition's fascinating. The amount of time, effort, and where you found eventually Ralphie VI and all that process. Talk a little bit through that whole process.
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to manage the young alumni programming for the Alumni Association. That was my job prior to taking over the Ralphie program. And one of our young alumni was sorority sisters with Sarah Abdella, Drew Isham, and her family have buffalo. They have a buffalo ranch in Nebraska. And so
wait a second, Ralphie's a Nebraskan?
We won't tell. She's another one like you, Mark. You came to Colorado by choice, so did she.
That's right.
Got out as fast as she could.
Yeah.
And so basically Drew and her father, I called them, I worked with them, I let them know that we were looking for a candidate, and an orphan bison came across our way. And so they donated her, and they're so excited to be part of the program. They have something like 7 alumni in their family, and so it's a long, proud Buffs tradition. Yeah.
Was there a moment when you said, okay, I think she's the one, when you're working with her?
I tend to be a little bit more, some people call it pessimistic, I think realistic. And so it's one of those things where I never want to overpromise and underdeliver. Okay. I'd so much rather just be very realistic. And people have been asking me all the way through it, and I've referred to her as the candidate all the way through because I've told people that until she runs at a football game, there's no way for me to know. Until we can get her in these situations with crowds, like there's no way to know. There's nothing that you can do to simulate that. And she could be the most perfect Buffalo. Well, she is the most perfect Buffalo in the entire world. Yeah. But she could be the most perfect Buffalo at home or in practice, and then in game day feel uncomfortable and panic, and that's not going to be successful. We never want to put her in a situation where she feels panicked or chased or uncomfortable. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that we've been working so slowly with her, adding crowd noise, adding little things one at a time so that she's comfortable and confident, so that when the craziness of Folsom game day arrives, you can see, you can look, she's looking around, she's unsure of everything, but you can see her visibly relax as soon as the team's around her, because she's like, okay, like my herd is here, my buddies are here, and we've done this. I know what we're going to do.
Good stuff. And she was a star on Friday night. No doubt about it. Will continue to be. Taylor Stratton, Program Manager for the Ralphie Program. Very successful. Kick things off for Ralphie 6. Coming up next, we're going to talk with an undefeated coach, Jessie Mahoney from volleyball.
No score. Ball sails in to the far side. Shart's header. Buffs think it's in. From the side, James receives it and puts it away. Another goal, Shira James.
A nice victory for Danny Sanchez and the CU soccer team, back in the win column as they get the victory over Stony Brook. We continue here, the Buffalo Stampede, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, Jessie Mahoney. He's undefeated, by the way, after a big weekend traveling to Champaign, Illinois. Here we heard about the Alliance here, a week or two ago, and this was the Pac-12 Big Ten Challenge. I think that was scheduled beforehand, but still, good to see those conferences getting together.
Yeah, it's been great. We've been doing it for 6 years or so now, and hopefully can continue to do it into the future.
Yeah, you go in there, you get a win on Friday, so over Iowa, and then you take on host Illinois on Saturday, and heck of a win there. That one was a little bit of a struggle. But take us to the Iowa. Give us a couple comments about that Iowa match.
Yeah, I think, really solid match. Anytime you're on the road, it's tough to get a good kind of rhythm, and we've been on the road 2 weeks in a row now. So I was really happy with what we did on Friday, and really set ourselves up to be comfortable on the floor against Illinois the next day.
The Illini match now, you guys jumped out, you're up 2 sets, right? Early on.
Yep.
And then they came back.
Yep.
Kind of talk through that. That showed some perseverance by your team, though, the way you had to play.
Yeah, I think, two really good teams. Illinois, once they were down 2-0, I think their strategy changed a little bit, and they just served lights out. So, they had 15 aces. We struggled to stay in system. And, getting into the 5th set, those can go either way. We were down 2 match points, came back and won it. And I think a really gritty performance by our team.
Yeah, without question. Buffs get a real nice 5-set win then over the Illini. A little comment about Brenda Luzio. She made the all-tournament team for that event. She was outstanding against the Illini.
I thought she was the best player in the gym all weekend, frankly. Really? Defending at a super high level. I think she had 28 digs in our second match, and just passes so well and is such a calming influence on our team.
Yeah, she was outstanding. Again, she was on the all-tournament team for that Pac-12 Big Ten event in Champaign, Illinois. More with the head coach of volleyball, but right now we check into lacrosse. They got some preseason conditioning going on. I met up with some Navy SEALs.
Morning, ladies. The program is a team building and leadership development company that develops better leaders, creates more cohesive teams through shared adversity. Adversity that you're going to feel over the next 2 days.
I think the program was a super awesome experience for our team. It was basically working on trying to conquer adversity together as a team and making sure that everyone was contributing. And in regards to the leadership roles, it was just really fun to learn tips from Marines who clearly have more experience in that than we do, and really working on being a leader not just by example but also by holding people accountable and demanding more from your teammates.
Up, down, up, down.
I think after COVID, we didn't get to do as much as we would like together as a team just because of safety protocols and all of that. So I think really being able to be together and do something really challenging outside of lacrosse was really important for our team chemistry, and I'm sure it will show itself on the field as well. I think in terms of leadership, we really worked on communicating effectively, whether that be louder or directly at people using names, and just a lot of small tips that maybe in times of stress you don't really think about being that important, but really end up making a big difference in the long haul.
Cut this on 2, 1, 2, cut this!
That's some great early season conditioning there for the lacrosse team as we continue with Jessie Mahoney here at the Buffalo Stampede. They got a big event coming up this weekend. Hey, before we get talking about the Buff Invitational, you had a great recruiting class. And freshmen, you never know what you're going to get on. But tell us a little bit about that freshman class and kind of what you see from them.
Yeah. So we have several players in the freshman class. Taylor Simpson, going to be a fantastic setter for us in her career. Getting a little bit of time right now. Jahara Campbell can play either pin, left or right. Again, really pushing some of our older players in practice. We're looking to see her on the floor at some point in the future. And then we have a couple DS liberos, I think, that have a chance to be really good for us as well. Both Emily and Emma, and they're both ready to get on the floor. And then Bella Simkus actually played for us the first weekends and did a fantastic job as well while we were a little bit injured. So really great group of 5 kids, and looking forward to the future.
Awesome. Freshmen got to grow up, though, and they certainly will for the Colorado Buffaloes. All right, good to be back home. You mentioned you'd been on the road for 2 consecutive weeks. Now you're back home with the Buff Invitational this weekend. That's a nice event, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be good. I think, Texas Tech, always solid from the Big 12. San Jose State's, I think, 5-1 right now, having one of their best starts ever. Northern Colorado is undefeated, has beaten Northwestern, beat Colorado State for the first time in 40 years. They probably have their best team in a long time, so it's going to be a big challenge, and mostly we're just excited to be back home.
It's kind of an interesting schedule. On Friday, you take on Texas Tech. The Red Raiders at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday at the Event Center.
Yeah, I don't know who scheduled that. I guess it's probably me. Any tournament, you're always trying to fit everyone's schedule and everyone's wants and desires in there. And we made it work. We're going to get 3 really good matches on the weekend.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Great stuff. Well, good luck this weekend.
All right.
Jessie Mahoney, head coach for volleyball. They're sitting at 5-0, coming off that big event in Champaign, Illinois. We put a wrap this week on the Buffalo Stampede. I'm voice of the boss, Mark Johnson. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.